Hello everybody. Today we are going to look at decimal notation. That means that we want to start by looking at the way decimal numbers are written and what that means. So I want to start out with this chart that you've got in your notes, and we want to notice where the decimal point is. And I'm just going to highlight that there in this red. There's our decimal point, and if I look at digits or numbers that are to the left of the decimal point, you know we have the ones place. And then we have the tens place. I'm going to write down here the ones place, tens place, which really means whatever digit is in the tens place is some number multiplied by 10. And then we have the hundredth place, so we have some number multiplied by 100. Then a thousandth. And notice what's happening here each time I write another place value here. The number of zeros keeps increasing by 1. So now when I get to the 100,000s, I have 100,000 with 5 zeros. When I get to the millions, I increase that by another 0 and we'll have 6 zeros. Then we have the 10 millions, 100 millions, billions, 10 billions, and 100 billions. Now when I go to the right of my decimal place, instead of having my digits multiplied by 10, I'm going to have them divided by 10. So in the tenth place, whatever number there is over 10 or divided by 10. And in the hundredth place, if there's a 1 there, it would be 1/100th. Thousandths, 1 divided by 1,000. And notice again, we are increasing our number of zeros. So 10 thousandths now has 4 zeros. 1/100,000ths, another 0 and in the denominator, and then 1/1,000,000th, going to have 6 zeros. So I can think of these place values as being multiples of numbers that are multiples actually of 10 or dividing by 10. What we want to do now is make sure that we can take decimal numbers and rewrite them in what we call expanded form and also in words. So here we go. I'm going to practice with this first example, 423.576. In expanded form, that means that we are writing these down as, well, let's see here, we have 4 in the hundredths place. So I would write this in expanded form as 400 plus the 2 in the tens place means I have 2 times 10 or 20 plus 3 in the ones place plus, now I'm going to start with the decimal values. I have 5 in the tenths place, so I have 5 tenths and then 7 100ths added to 6 1,000ths. And this is how we would write this in expanded form. To write this in words, I'm going to group what numbers come before the decimal place, which would be here, and I'm going to group the numbers that come after that. And what I mean is I'm going to, in words, add these together and write that down in words. So I would say 423. My decimal place gets replaced with the word and then I want to group these fractions. And when I say group, it means I want to add them together and then write them out as one set of words. So I'm going to have to add 5/10ths to 7/100ths and 6/1000ths. And remember, when we're adding fractions, we need to have a common denominator. And my common denominator is going to be whatever the largest denominator here is. So in this case, my common denominator is going to be 1,000. So I need to take 5/10ths and rewrite it as some number of thousands. And to do that, I would have to multiply my 10 by 100 and then do the same to the 5. So that is 500 thousandths. To change the 7/100ths to a fraction with a denominator of 1,000, I'm going to need to multiply numerator and denominator by 10. So I will get 70 thousandths. And my 6 thousandths is already in thousands, so I don't need to convert that. But what I do need to do is add my 500 thousandths to my 70 thousandths to the 6 thousandths. So altogether, we get 576 thousandths, and that's what we want to write here in words. So I'm going to put after the and 576 thousandths. All right, so now this is our decimal number written in words. Let's do this now for 3.64. We're going to expand it, and then we are going to write it in words. So the 3.64 has a 3 starting here with the ones place. So I just have to say 3. Remember, my decimal place gets replaced with the word and. And then I've got this 0.64, and it's going to be 64, and my place value is hundredths. Now I did this one going straight to the words without showing how you added all the fractions together. Let's write this now in expanded form. We would have 3 ones plus 6/10ths plus 4 hundredths. And if I were going to now show you how to combine these fractions to get to the words, I know most of you have done this already in your heads, which is why I wrote the words out first, but if I was going to do this step by step, I would need to make everything in the hundredths place. 4 is already in the hundredths, so I don't need to change that. But the 6/10, I want to make into hundredths, so I would have to multiply the numerator by 10 and get 60, the denominator by 10 to get that 100. And then when I add them together, I get the 64 hundredths. So 60 over 100 plus 4 over 100 gives us 64 over 100, hence the words 64 hundredths here. All right, so we now have that written out in expanded form and in words. Let's go to our next example. What we want to do is take a look at these 6 decimal values, and we want to put them in order from the largest to the smallest. Now, at first glance, it's not easy to do this because we have different decimal values, different place values here. If I were going to compare these so that I can decide which is the largest, it's helpful if I write them as fractions. And if I do that, I need to have all the same denominators in order to compare them. So I'm going to start out with this first 0.03, and I'm going to convert that to a fraction just the way it is right now. That would be, let's see, this is the 10th place. 2 places is the 100th place, and I have 3, so that would be equal to 3 over 100. This next one has a 3 just in the 10th place, so this would be equivalent to 3 over 10. The next one has 3 decimal places, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, so I would write that as 32 over 1,000. So far, my first 3 fractions all have different denominators. But when I come to this next one, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, this is also already in thousandths, and I just have 6 of those thousandths. Now my next one has also 3 decimal places, so that's also in thousandths, so I can write that as 3 over 1,000. Actually, I want to erase this that I've got and change so I'm not using a dotted line. Okay, let's do this one in black. This 3 thousandths, because there's 3 decimal places. And this last one here has just 1 decimal place. So that would be over 10. So if I look at these fractions now that I have written down, there's 6 of them. The largest denominator is 1,000, and 3 of these fractions are already in thousands, so that is helpful. I don't have to make any changes to those. But the ones that are not in thousandths, I need to rewrite as some kind of value over 1,000. So I'm going to start with this 3 over 100. To get it to be a thousandths, I would need to multiply the denominator by 10, so I would have to do that to the numerator, and this becomes equivalent to 30 over 1,000. 3 over 10 is not in thousandths, and to get it there I would need to multiply the denominator by 100, and so do the same to the numerator, and this becomes 300 over 1,000. Our 32 thousandths is already in thousandths, so we can, I think we can just move it down maybe. Yes, there we go. The 6 thousandths is also already in thousandths, so we can bring that down. 3, the same. 2 tenths, not in thousandths, so we're going to need to convert this. And to do that, I'm going to need to multiply the denominator by 100, and so do the same to the numerator. And we get 200 over 1,000. Now it is easy for us to compare these. Whichever ones has the larger numerators are going to be the larger numbers. So it looks like my 300 over 1,000 is the largest. There's more of those thousandths than any other number. And that 300 over 1,000 was equivalent to 0.3. So this 0.3 is actually our largest number. So writing these in order from greatest to smallest, 0.3 is the largest. Okay, so that takes care of that fraction. The next largest one is 200 over 1,000. 200 over 1,000 was equal to our 0.2. That is our next largest number. So that takes care of that fraction. Now we want to look at our next highest, which would be the 30 over 1,000. 30 over 1,000 here is equivalent to 0.03. And then now we're left with 32 thousandths, 6 thousandths, and 3 thousandths. The next largest is our 32 thousandths, and that is equivalent to 0.032. And then 6 thousandths comes next. That is our 0.006. So we want to write that one next. Followed by our last one, which was the 0.003. So now we have these numbers in order from greatest to largest. All right, what we want to do next, example 3, we want to take a number that's a decimal number and write it as a fraction or a mixed number. So we're going to start with example. Let's start with 0.004. And we want to write that first as a fraction. Now notice that the 4 is in the, let's see, tenths, hundredths, thousandths place. So I'm going to write 4 over 1,000. And that is finished. Let's do another one. 3.64. Now we could write this as a mixed number, 3 being our whole number part. And then our decimal part is 64 over, let's see, tenths, hundredths. So this would be 64 over 100. What I really have here is 3 plus 64 hundredths. Now if I wanted to write that as an improper fraction, I would have to think of this as 3 over 1 plus 64 over 100, and I would convert my 3 over 1 into hundredths so that I have common denominators that I can combine fractions with common denominators. So I would need to multiply the numerator and denominator by 100, which would be the equivalent of 300 over 100 plus 64 over 100, for a total of 364 over 100. So this fraction is an improper fraction, but still one you will see used quite often, especially in algebra. This earlier fraction we came up with is still a fraction, but it is a mixed number. All right, let's go to example number 4, and let's round some numbers. So we want to first take this, looks like we have an extra comma here, so what I would like you to do is just ignore this comma here that comes before the decimal and think of this as 9,235.492, and we want to round to the nearest hundred, which means hundred place. So let's see, here's my ones place, here's the hundreds place. When I'm rounding to, oh, I'm sorry, that's a tens place. So ones, tens, and then hundreds. That's where we want to round to. If I want to round to that nearest hundredth place, I have to decide whether to leave that hundreds number the same or increase it by 1. And I decide by looking one place value to the right. So I'm only looking at the 3, I'm not looking at anything else. I look at this 3 to the right of my hundreds place, and if it's a 5 or greater, I increase my hundreds number by 1. But it's not 5 or greater, it's smaller. So in that case, I'm going to leave it just the way it is and have 9,200, and everything else becomes zeros. So 9,200 is my rounded number. Let's look at this next one. We are going to round 0.0346 to the nearest 10,000th. This value is to the right of our decimal place. I want to find the 10,000th place. So if I'm counting over tenths, hundreds, thousandths, 10,000. So I'm looking at this 4, and I have to decide, am I going to keep this 4 the same value of 4, or am I going to bump it up by 1? And I look at the next digit to the right of that to decide. So I'm looking at the 6. Since that is greater than 5, or 5 or greater, I want to bump up my 4 by 1 digit. So I'm going to make the 4 a 5. and rewrite my number 0.003. The 4 becomes a 5, and I have zeros after that or nothing at all if it's to the right of a decimal. So here is my value now, rounded to the nearest 10 thousandths. 10s, 100,000ths, 10 thousandths. There we go. All right, that is the end of our decimal notation lesson. We will work some more with decimals tomorrow in the next lesson. Thanks everybody and have a great day.